Thousands of honeybees press through the dark, warm corridors of the hive, brushing past one another in constant motion. A worker lowers her head into a wax cell and feeds a larva curled like a tiny white comma. Another cleans an empty chamber until it shines. Nearby, bees pass droplets of nectar mouth to mouth, tasting, sharing, measuring what has come in from the outside world. Others groom their sisters, fan their wings to move air through the colony, seal cracks with resin, guard the entrance, or pause for the split second it takes to read a scent on another bee's body. The hive feels crowded, but not confused. Every surface is alive. Legs tap, antennae touch, wings tremble. Food moves from bee to bee. Odors drift through the wax. Somewhere near the entrance, guards sample the smell of each arrival. Deeper inside, nurse bees inspect brood cells and respond to hungry larvae. In the heat of the brood nest, workers help hold the temperature steady, not because anyone has told them to, but because the hive itself is full of signals. Still, in the middle of all this movement, one bee seems to explain the whole thing. The queen pushes slowly across the comb, longer-bodied than the workers around her, surrounded by attendants who feed her, clean her, touch her with their antennae, and follow close behind. She lowers her abdomen into a cell and lays an egg. Then she moves on, and the circle of workers moves with her. It looks exactly like a court. She is larger. She is protected. She is constantly attended. Her presence matters so much that the colony's future depends on her. So the familiar story seems obvious. The queen bee rules the hive. She gives the orders. She tells foragers where to go, workers what jobs to do, guards when to defend, and the colony when to swarm. But that story is almost completely wrong. The queen is not a commander sitting at the center of a tiny monarchy. She does not direct traffic through the comb. She does not assign workers to clean cells, feed larvae, build wax, collect nectar, or defend the entrance. She does not choose the flowers the foragers visit. She does not personally inspect new nest sites. She does not decide, by royal command, when the colony will split in two. Her central role is biological, not political. The queen is the colony's primary reproductive female. Her body produces the eggs that keep the population alive, and her chemical signals help hold the colony together. That makes her essential. Without a functioning queen, the hive faces a crisis. But being essential is not the same as being in charge. A honeybee colony runs on something stranger and more impressive than obedience. It runs on distributed decisions. A worker does not wait for instructions before feeding a larva. She responds to age, scent, hunger signals, the needs of nearby brood, the amount of food in the colony, and the behavior of other workers around her. A forager does not receive a royal assignment before leaving the hive. She gathers information from dances, odors, nectar exchanges, and her own memory of the landscape. A guard does not need a queen's permission to sting. She reacts to alarm pheromones, movement, vibration, and threat. Every bee has only a small piece of the picture. Yet together, those small pieces form a system that can feed tens of thousands of individuals, regulate temperature, build architecture, defend itself, reproduce, migrate, and even replace its own queen. That is the hidden engine of the hive. From the outside, the colony can look like a kingdom because one individual is large, central, and surrounded by attendants. But inside the wax, control is spread across thousands of bodies. The queen is a reproductive and chemical center, a living source of eggs and signals. Around her, the workers operate the machinery of the colony through touch, scent, feedback, and constant adjustment. So the real question is not how the queen controls the hive. The real question is how a hive runs so well without a ruler at all. The queen moves from cell to cell, but the workers decide whether she is fed, cleaned, guided, crowded, ignored, or eventually replaced. Her power begins with eggs. In the height of the season, a healthy queen can lay around 1,500 to 2,000 eggs in a single day, placing them one by one into wax cells prepared by workers. Earlier in life, she flew out on mating flights, mated with multiple drones, and stored sperm inside a small organ called the spermatheca. For years, that stored sperm can allow her to produce fertilized eggs that become female workers and potentially new queens. That is extraordinary, but it is not command. The queen also produces pheromones, especially queen mandibular pheromone, a chemical signal that tells the colony she is present and reproductively active. Workers touch her, feed her, groom her, and carry traces of that scent through the hive by contact and food exchange. The signal helps maintain cohesion. It can suppress worker ovary development. It announces that the colony's reproductive center is still there. But it does not tell a bee to go collect clover. It does not instruct another bee to ventilate the entrance. It does not assign a nurse to the third cell on the left. Those jobs belong to workers, and workers are almost the entire colony. They are female bees, and their lives change as the colony needs them. A young worker may begin deep in the hive, cleaning cells or feeding larvae. As she ages, she may build comb, handle nectar, store pollen, groom nestmates, help regulate heat, or guard the entrance. Later, she may become a forager, flying out into the landscape to search for nectar, pollen, water, or resin. Even that sequence is flexible. If the hive suddenly needs more nurses, some workers can shift toward nursing. If foragers are lost, others may begin foraging earlier than usual. The colony adjusts not by decree, but by response. Brood pheromones signal the presence and needs of larvae. Food stores influence how urgently workers collect nectar or pollen. Temperature changes trigger fanning, clustering, or water collection. Encounters with other workers provide constant feedback about what is scarce, what is abundant, and what needs attention. The result is not a fixed workforce. It is a living labor system. Foraging makes that system visible. A forager returns from a rich patch of flowers and climbs onto the comb. She begins to dance. Her waggle run encodes direction and distance, translating the angle of sunlight and the length of travel into movement on wax. If the source is valuable, if the nectar is sweet, if the distance is worth the effort, she may dance with more energy and repeat the message again and again. But she is not giving orders. Other workers may follow the dance. They may sample the floral scent clinging to her body. They may receive a drop of nectar through trophallaxis and taste the resource directly. Or they may ignore her because another dancer advertises something better. If returning foragers cannot unload nectar quickly because receiver bees are too busy, that delay becomes negative feedback. Recruitment can slow. Some foragers may change behavior. The colony's foraging pattern shifts as information moves through many bees at once. A waggle dance is not a command from above. It is an advertisement inside a marketplace of signals. The same principle appears when the colony faces one of its biggest decisions: swarming. When a strong hive becomes crowded and conditions favor reproduction, the colony may prepare to split. Workers begin building queen cells before the swarm leaves. They reduce feeding to the old queen, slimming her down so she can fly. Scout bees search the outside world for possible nest cavities, inspecting volume, entrance size, height, dryness, and protection. They return and dance for their choices. Other scouts investigate. Support grows, weakens, or shifts. Over time, dances concentrate around one site. The queen leaves with the swarm, but she does not choose the destination. The workers prepare the departure. The workers compare the options. The workers build consensus. And if the queen fails, disappears, or grows less effective, the workers can respond again. A queen and a worker both begin as fertilized eggs. Queenship is not a crown placed at birth. It is a developmental pathway. With a suitable young larva, special feeding, and a queen cell, workers can raise a new reproductive female. In an emergency, they can begin quickly. In supersedure, they can replace a failing queen while the colony remains intact. During swarming, they raise new queens for the original hive after the old queen departs. So the hive has no ruler, but it is not chaotic. It is regulated by pheromones, vibrations, temperature cues, hunger, crowding, food flow, brood needs, alarm signals, and thousands of worker-to-worker interactions. Order emerges because each bee responds to local information, and those responses feed back into the behavior of the whole colony. The queen matters deeply, but she is one essential part of a much larger mechanism. The queen lowers her abdomen into another polished cell as attendants press close around her, and the scene that once looked like a throne room begins to look like something else entirely. The workers are not bowing. They are maintaining. They feed her because her body must keep producing eggs. They groom her because her scent must keep moving through the colony. They touch her with their antennae because chemical information matters here more than ceremony. They surround her not as subjects waiting for orders, but as participants in a system that depends on her, uses her signals, and also limits her life. At the beginning, it was easy to mistake the shape of the hive for a monarchy. One bee was larger. One bee was central. One bee seemed protected by everyone else, and because human beings are used to looking for leaders, the queen seemed like the obvious answer to the mystery of order. But the hive's order does not come from command. It comes from contact. A nurse meets a hungry larva and feeds it. A receiver bee tastes incoming nectar and changes how quickly a forager can unload. A scout dances for a dark hollow in a tree, and another scout chooses whether to inspect it. A guard catches the sharp odor of alarm and joins the defense. A cluster of workers senses heat rising around developing brood and begins to fan, gather water, or shift position. No single bee holds the whole plan. The plan is spread across the colony. The queen's importance is real, but it is not the importance of a ruler. It is the importance of a living reproductive center, a source of eggs, a source of pheromones, a biological anchor around which the workers coordinate part of their lives. If she is healthy, the colony can grow. If she weakens, the workers notice. If she disappears, the workers respond. If the colony needs to reproduce by swarming, the workers prepare her to leave and raise successors behind her. Her power is biological, not political. And that changes the whole picture. A honeybee colony is not a crowd waiting for instruction. It is a decentralized living system built from thousands of small decisions happening in darkness. Each worker has limited information. Each worker responds to what she smells, tastes, touches, hears, and feels. Yet out of those tiny reactions comes architecture, defense, nursing, ventilation, food storage, navigation, migration, and renewal. That is why the hive can seem almost impossible. It behaves like one organism, but it is made of many bodies. It makes decisions, but without a single mind. It creates order, but without a throne. The queen remains in the center of the comb, moving slowly through the warm press of workers. She is not unimportant. She is vital. Without her eggs and chemical presence, the colony's future can unravel. But the real marvel is around her. It is in the workers who feed the young, cool the brood, read the dances, test the air, choose the flowers, build the comb, defend the entrance, select the nest, and even raise the next queen when the time comes. The queen bee is not actually in charge. The hive is.